All right, we're back with part two. I hate everything that has to do with my computer. But no, I mean, I think someone who earned a dirtier player mantra would have been Claude Lemieux for taking out Chris Draper, and then the fight that ensued the next season. That's one of the highest regarded memories of anybody born in the 80s and watched the Red Wings in the 90s. So I think the circumstance matters. The time that the play is happening matters. It's more than just a single moment of a single game that makes somebody a dirty player or even the name on their back. And I think Washi kind of gets a bad name for things that other people in his family have done when it's clear that they are completely different people and they have one shouldn't suffer for the sins of the other. And I think even that started coming up a little bit amongst the people trying to defend their player this weekend.
Yeah, it didn't. That was a bit bothersome. But, I love my brother, but if he did something like that, it's not something I did. And you're trying to attach one to the other and compare apples and oranges. Whatever anybody else does, that's not a person. And yeah, just kind of
it put a black mark on a weekend that didn't need it. Granted, I mean, I will say Western dominated the weekend. They looked like the top team in the NCHC. They looked like a top team in all of NCAA hockey. But all in all, they were two competitive games for the most part. They were two fun games to watch, and they got overshadowed by dipshittery on the internet.
So you guys did us a favor.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think you guys were able to kind of sneak away a little bit more so, at least amongst the fan bases that are playing you next.
My favorite one of that was, well, it was a face-off violation. Yeah, it wasn't called. But the linesman, I will say, I don't know what he was doing on the face-off. Because when I did ref, you were taught it's out and down. He did go up.
Face-offs have been
up to throw it down, and it's like, no, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Face-offs have been an issue for a while now. I don't think that's anything new. But they need to figure that out, dude. I don't know. I think the reffing in general has been much improved this season, but the dropping of pucks is something I think they need to work on this offseason and get better at.
Hey, they need their camera time too. The linesmen want to be noticed.
They don't at all. They should be noticed. Ooh, man. What was it? I don't think it was this series. Was it the last one? Who did Western play before this? There were refs getting taken out left and right. I think the last series in Kalamazoo. They just could not get out of their own way and or the game's way, and it was kind of funny.
Well, the crew in Duluth this last weekend was looking for their 10 seconds of fame, kicking out both starting centers before even the opening puck drop.
St. Cloud State, yeah. No, the refs could not get out of their own way or the players' way in the St. Cloud State series.
I will say it is tough to get out of the way sometimes where you see this play happening and you don't know where to go and you're just like, well, this is gonna happen.
A lot of it looked like they had a lot more time to get out of the way than they did, and they just chose to go the wrong way.
Again, you kind of process it in your head, and there probably is more time, but you look at it, you're like, huh, this play's coming right for me. I should probably move. I don't have time to move. Well, I guess I'm getting checked into the boards and gonna go down. Is it Wes McCauley in was it the Canada US game? He went down and or maybe it was U.S. Finland. He got taken out by Brady to Chuck, and it was like, well, sorry, I was there.
Let's see. Arizona State is currently sitting 15th in the current pairwise, according to College Hockey News. So they need some help a little bit here to get close to that. What do they usually say? Kind of like 12 is like the happy spot. Just based on who could steal a tournament championship and get the auto bid.
Yeah, like for my sake of security, I'd say like 12 is the bottom that we would want to be to ensure we can still get in that large bid. In my article I posted this morning, actually, I noted that the bubble battle between Massachusetts and Arizona State is going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, and this was kind of something we brought up at the beginning of the season. Like you're kind of in a better spot because you're in a conference. Unfortunately, the thing that's hurting the NCHC this year is just they did not play very well non-conference to start the year across the board. I mean, Denver did, but I argue that their competition was not the best. Omaha started out pretty well, winning the icebreaker tournament, but then kind of the injuries got to them. Western Michigan had some big games against top schools. I mean, they lost to Boston College in the one game they played there. They lost one game to Michigan. I think, was it overtime? No, they were trying to push overtime, but they lost to Michigan when Michigan was a top-ranked team. They have the GLI loss to Michigan State. So just not a very good non-conference appearance by the NCHC this year, and it's kind of affecting all the teams in the conference when you're just not able to stack up wins on teams that put up wins on good teams early in the year.
Yeah, and for us for our non-conference, splitting at Air Force to start the season really started setting us back, and then we lose and tie in our home opener against Michigan, go on the road and get swept at Providence, who is a very good team, by virtue of playing in a loaded Hockey East. And then we wrapped up with a series that with a sweep that arguably anybody should sweep at Northern Michigan.
Yeah, another team that is just theirs is a little more. Yeah, they're a brand new team in kind of every expectation of the word. They were a team that was supposed to have Grant and Hampton Slukinski this year. They lose their coaching staff. Nearly every player jumps ship. They get a coaching staff late in the year, which good for them. I mean, Dave Shayak, I think, is going to do very well up there. He's a very good coach. He's a longtime assistant here at Western before going to St. Cloud State and assisting their program. They've picked up some wins as of late, but yeah, we knew that season was going to be tough for them. I think we were hoping a little bit more for Miami, but again, they're still pretty much a new team too. They've just, if it wasn't for bad luck, they'd have no luck at all in Oxford, Ohio, for whatever reason. They are clearly not making the playoffs in the first year where not everybody makes the playoffs.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah. Hang on. Is there even a possibility? Let's play the what if game, because I don't even know. They've got 18 points left up for grabs, right? They would have to sweep the remaining schedule and hope that St. Cloud State only gets one win. And they would tie. No. Miami would have 20 points if Miami wins the next 6.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying there's an unlikely chance considering who their 6 opponents are, which I'm going to tell you right now. I know last is Western Michigan. And they do not. They have a very fun record about the last weekend against Western Michigan. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that here in a second. They're at Denver. No, they're hosting Denver this weekend. They go to Minnesota Duluth, so there's a possible win there because they like screwing your guys'
there's at least one
up.
win there.
And they close the year against Western Michigan. And once the NCHC started picking travel partners and playing that as the last weekend of the season, Miami has not beaten Western Michigan in the last weekend of the season under NCHC play. So I don't see them running the table and coming away with 18 points.
You never know.
To get to 20
trying to be hopeful here.
And hoping
they snuck a point from Colorado College. I don't think anybody thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, they have a point from St. Cloud and from Colorado College, so two unlikely of foes. They are 1 point away from tying, I think, their season total from last year, which was a win over Western Michigan, but not in the final weekend of the season. So there's that. Should be this one.
Yeah, that team, I wish, not that it bothers Wes as much as it does me. I wish they were better.
I wish they were better. I would like for beating them to mean something. Okay.
Well, you like beating up on them anyway.
Oh, they wouldn't tie their total from last year. They had 7 points last year. They had 1 win and 2 overtime losses last year.
That win being against Arizona State. Actually, no, we weren't even in the NCHC.
No, their one conference win last year was over Western Michigan, and it was highly disappointing, and we don't need to talk about it ever again.
It's okay. The previous 2 years, I think it was the previous 2 years they beat UMD, because that was when Person was in net and he would make about 75 saves a game.
They had one, I think, one over UMD and one over St. Cloud State that were pretty surprising the last couple of years. But
I wasn't surprised when they beat us, because I actually think we had about 56 shots on net, and Person did Person things and was really good. And I must have been when they had Red on the team, Red Savage, before he left for Michigan State.
Yeah. So we talked about the Penrose being on the line. Really, Arizona State would have to sweep this weekend and hope that Western loses the next 4 while winning the next 4 to really have a shot at it. Because, again, they have that last weekend off. So, since unfortunately, Western is sitting 2 games in hand. So, as long as they're within 6 points of Arizona State, they could kind of steal it away that last weekend, which is really the downfall of the way the schedule is written right now, and Arizona having the season they had. You know,
yeah, I mean,
be right there and have it taken away.
Yeah, I mean, if by chance we can win out, we're assured of no worse than second place and have an outside chance at winning the Penrose, depending on how you guys do in the 4 games after us. Really, like I was saying, we're just taking it a game at a time and control what we can control.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the fun part about being a fan, right? Is we get to play the speculation games. We're not tied by any mantras or mottos or coaches chewing us out for getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. But that's the fun of being a fan.
We get to do the scoreboard watching that the teams shouldn't be doing.
Oh, dude, do you know how irritating it has been with the scoreboard watching the way that Arizona State and Western were going back and forth there for the longest time? Because everyone's like, I don't understand why Arizona State's on the top of the thing. Well, because they've played all their games so far, and Western's sitting there with less games. But we're right there in points. We're right where we need to be. We're right where we want to be. It's fine, guys. Chill out. As long as we can reach you. If we can touch you, we're good.
Yeah, I was hoping to be a little bit more in reach when you guys come down this weekend, but hoping we can play spoiler at least once.
I mean, I'm okay with it either way. To be completely honest, I would much rather. There's just too much to make next weekend like the greatest weekend to win the Penrose. It would be in front of home fans, and we know how much Western loves their home fans. It would be against North Dakota, and really, if you're taking the conference championship, is there really a team better to beat than North Dakota for the thing? And it would just be so much sweeter. But if it happens this weekend, it happens this weekend, and I'm just going to be happy that Western gets their first ever conference title in hockey.
it's definitely going to be a fun series, and I'm excited to be at both games. It's going to be a madhouse. The mullet maniacs will be out in force.
There are a good number of people also headed from the Mitten State down there to enjoy some of the warmth and hospitality that Arizona will provide this weekend.
Some of the Lawson lunatics invading.
I don't know of any students, but I do know of at least like 15 community members and season ticket holders who have made a point of letting me know that they are going, and expressing some hope that I would be going, but I am not. I have a 2-year-old to run around with and chase and hopefully put to bed before those games start so that I don't have to worry about anything.
I'll be sure to send some of them my direction. I'm always happy to meet up with opposing fans and just banter back and forth.
Yeah, I mean that's just as much fun as scoreboard watching, really, as long as it's a good group and no one gets too irritated and realize that, you know, they're not the ones playing the actual game. So let's take a step back and realize it's for entertainment purposes and shouldn't be taken too seriously.
Exactly.
Mike, any other questions, concerns, comments you would like to make about anything that happened last weekend or the weekend coming up? Oh, should we look at your Bulldogs and the rest of the conference schedule? How about we do that like we normally do?
Yeah.
Sorry,
well, my question was going to be, are you going to paint your face at home just because of what it would mean?
No.
Well, you're no fun.
You know, now that you mention it. Friday, no, for sure. Because Friday can do whatever Friday does. But if the cup is on the line Saturday, I think I might have to.
I think you have to at this point.
I think I might
I think you're required to.
I think I might have to. I will say the only place that I'm kind of afraid to go to with my face painted is Arizona State. Because a few years ago, back when I first started painting my face, before Arizona State was in the D1 rankings, their football team had a little bit of an issue with students painting their face and getting it banned from football games. So I've always made a point of being like, am I going to be okay here with this? And trying to respect the rules of the institutions that I visit. So far, so good. Haven't had an issue. Vegas was also a little dicey, and I just decided to not go in any casinos with my face painted, stuck to lobbies in outside areas. But yeah, definitely a little trepidatious about going down to Tempe with the full regalia. I'm just pulling all the big stupid words out today.
You might get a little bit of jab here and there, but I don't think it would be too bad. You know, I regularly see. I mean, I see people dressed in UND jerseys all the time. You know, week in and week out, sitting like 1 or 2 seconds over from me. I'm like, really? You guys aren't playing this weekend?
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, Mike will tell you that on the regular, I refer to myself as a big dumb doofus with his face painted. So,
yes,
I'm not worried about what other people tend to think or want to throw my way. In fact, I welcome it. I will challenge your fan base if it is too quiet in the arena for my likings, which Mike can also attest to, having sat next to me at a game that wasn't even in Kalamazoo and or Duluth. So
yeah. We have the aforementioned UND this weekend. We get the Fighting Hawks, and
hey, they were fighting last weekend and lost Emory. So,
you know, honestly, I'm surprised that there wasn't fights in the crowd because of how their fan base can get. I've witnessed it firsthand where there is a 78-year-old man that's ready to fight a 20-year-old, and I'm like, it's not going to end well for you, buddy, especially when he's wearing Air Force ROTC. Probably not going to work out for you. So it's going to be a big rivalry, especially in northern Minnesota. There's a lot of UN fans as well. They're all over the country, but it's not that far to Grand Forks. I think it's going to be fairly heated, like it always is.
Yeah, I mean that's always one that goes back and forth and tough fought. Um, North Dakota, I think North Dakota has a few other injuries. They're definitely gettable this year, and with Duluth being on the rise, it seems, which they always kind of somehow manage to be at this point of the year. I don't know if it's just their players get more experience or if uh, Sandlin's able to find a new speech to deliver and really kind of refocus the boys or what it is. But this is kind of their time of the year to start putting it together. So that's gonna be a fun series. Denver at Miami. I'm a little less sure of this series than I have been in recent years. Denver has appeared to be gettable this year, but Miami real hard, and it could be a blowout, kind of like it was for Denver at UNO that second game. If they're asking who's going to score the most goals this weekend on NCHC on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, I might put money on Denver to score the most goals this weekend in that series. Colorado College at St. Cloud State. St. Cloud State coming off the bye. Hopefully Posh is a little bit closer to being back to 100%, because St. Cloud State needs him going down the stretch if they're going to have any real shot.
I think that's been the other shocker, other than ASU being where they are, is St. Cloud with how poorly they've played all year. Yes, they've had the injuries, but this is not the St. Cloud State team of the past few years, especially the one that absolutely obliterated St. Thomas in St. Thomas's first year in Division I hockey.
Yeah. They have definitely missed Posh, and he was not himself when he came into the Saturday, or when he started the Saturday game against Western Michigan last weekend, or 2 weekends ago now. But I think it was good for him to get some game time. It kind of showed where he was at. An extra week of rest and getting probably some play time again this weekend will probably help. But again, hopefully he can find his game again because they need him. And this one's a tough one too because Umberco's been hit or miss this year, a little bit more so than most years. And they've gotten to him a few times. In fact, chase him from starting back-to-back games a few times this season. So Colorado College is not a lock to win these games against a struggling St. Cloud State team in St. Cloud.
If St. Cloud does manage to pull off the win on Friday, look for Carson Mustard to start on Saturday. That's a fact.
Yeah, and he's done well in the games that he's come in and played backing up Umberco. When Umberco struggled on Friday nights, he's got a overtime win. Yeah, an overtime win against Western Michigan after they put up 4 on Umberco. He's got did they go to overtime with you guys as well? Because I know that was the first one he started.
Yeah, so we chased him on the Friday game, and then Saturday Mustard got the start, and CC actually came back from a 4-1 deficit to tie it in the third, sent it to overtime, and they got the winner.
Yeah, so I mean he's fought back against a couple good offensive teams and teams at the top of the standings to at least earn his team a point and to steal an extra point in overtime. So no easy task against Arizona State or Western Michigan. And somehow Colorado College, I don't know what they do in overtime, but they are 4-1 in overtime games this year. They were like 5 or 6-0 last year before they finally lost an overtime game or something stupid.
Yeah.
Western's,
I'll tell you what they do. They put the puck in the net before the other team.
Yeah. Western's much improved in the overtime. They are 3-2 in overtime games this year, which is vastly improved over like the 1-7 they were last year. The only one coming in St. Cloud on an incredible shot by Alex Bump. And then the last series, maybe the most important series of the weekend, maybe the best series of the weekend, the one that I'm going to be glued to is Western Michigan making the trip down to Arizona State in the second series meeting between these two teams, and the first one in Arizona.
Yeah, first series was back in our growing pains years in 2017, and
not a bad showing though. I think it was a win and a tie for Western. I think
you're right. I don't have that in front of me.
I can find it. No, I pushed all the wrong buttons. Wesley, your Polish is showing. Please stop. But 2016-17 season? I think so.
Yes.
No, not the roster, you dum-dum. The schedule, you doofus.
So yeah, a win and a tie for Western.
Yeah. And that was when our good buddy Trevor Gorsuch played for the team.
Yeah, you guys won 4-2 in the first game of the weekend, then 2-2 tie to close it out.
In front of the Lunatics, back when they were a skosh better than they are right now. They need to get their stuff together. I don't know what. Your team's in first place. Why are you leaving in the second intermission? Please, for the love of God, tell me why. As the Backstreet Boys once said, tell me why. Okay? Because you shouldn't. You're the #1 student section in the country for a reason. Please act like it and support your team for the entire game. When the team brags about you, there is not a team in the world that brags about their student section or their fan base as much as Western Michigan does as a whole, from the coaching staff to the athletic director to the players to the first-year players understand how important that stupid student section is. And they're leaving at the second intermission. It drives me nuts.
I think the one thing that's fascinating is some of the guys that we've talked to that never did actually see the Lunatics in person until they got to Lawson to play their first game, and they walk out of the locker room and step onto the ice and they see the Lunatics. Their reaction is like, is it like this every time? And they're like, yeah. What?
Yeah.
I think Sam was one of those players that he knew of the Lunatics but had never seen them live. And when he transferred to Northeastern,
Ethan Frank was one of those players who hadn't seen them because he didn't come here as a recruit. He just appeared here day one and was like, okay. And then then there's guys like Tristan Lemaire, who played against Western in front of the Lunatics when he was with Denver. And next week's guest, Robbie Drasner, played for Miami in front of the Lunatics. So there's definitely a lot to experience as far as that goes. But yeah, I don't know, man. The last couple of series, and I get that like your team may be dominating the game or pulling away, but there's something, you're missing something special this year with this Western Michigan team. I've told people that we've been talking with, like, when I first started watching Western Michigan, I would pray for a team this good. Even my favorite team of all time, the 2012 and CCHA tournament championship team, was not as good as the team that we have right now that's in front of us. This team is going to produce NHL players. They have the last few years, but they've somehow only gotten better. And it's another historic season that if you're leaving games early, you're missing moments to watch those players because they're going to be gone tomorrow.
I think ASU, your student section and just that arena in general, from what I've seen online and everything, they care about this team and they back this team. It's a really fun atmosphere for the kids to play in and to go watch a game versus Coyotes game.
They really do. And I, from my vantage point in the arena, I'm directly across from the student section. I've never, aside from the series that come around the holiday breaks, it's always packed to the gills there. It's one of the toughest student tickets to get. And they are amped up pregame every single time. They do the sway back and forth. They're jumping around. They're chirping at the goalie, and it's Sparky's there. He's holding up various signs. Everybody gets into it on the student section side, and it's really exciting to see. As an alumni myself, and really wishing I was a student now so I could be in the student section and just experience it.
Do you think that has something to do with, this isn't the right way to word it, but the novelty of hockey in Arizona, in the sense, I know with Coyotes, it was arena placement and everything. That whole thing was a mess. But in Minnesota, it's so ingrained in us that we grow up with hockey. We are the state of hockey for a reason. Uh, and I think that affects our student section sometimes because it's like, oh, well, we can go watch any hockey game anytime. Do you think part of the student section is the novelty of having a hockey team in Arizona and that they're so amped up?
Yes and no. So the 942 crew is the student organization that sets up the student tickets, and they're really behind behind all the student sections, no matter what event. They handle the curtain of distraction at basketball games. 942 crew really advertises for each event and encourages students to claim their tickets to get to games. And I usually get to the arena right as, if not a little bit before, doors are opening, and I always look to the student line and I see it's wrapping around the building. So it's I think it's a mix of students who are diehard hockey fans, as well as, like you were saying, the novelty of just us having a hockey team and being the the only show in Arizona. So it's not entirely that novelty aspect, I guess, is my point I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's one part of the equation, and it just happens to be that perfect mix of. I mean, there. I coached a kid in basketball that went down to ASU for college, so you do get kids from all over the country, but yeah, I think it's a kind of a perfect mix of certain reputation. Kids from all over the country go to ASU, and then people are like, "What is this sport?" All of a sudden, mix them together and creates a raucous atmosphere. So I think the Lunatics, they got to look out. If they keep leaving after the second period, they might have some competition down there.
I hope so. And I always try and get a video of the student section right leading up to puck drop, so I can really give people a feel of just how energetic they are, and the the feeling inside the building leading up to the start.
Yeah, I mean, even Mike has noticed it because he's messaged me like, "Where'd your students go?" I'm like, I don't know.
Yep.
I couldn't tell you. But I mean, for any fan who's not a Western fan or has yet to visit Lawson, you don't have much of an opportunity left. The building is in its last few years of being used. They're moving downtown. Construction is supposed to build or start soon here. They're hoping, earliest estimates that I've seen are 2027, 2028. They'll be downtown. I've also heard that it's been pushed back and they're looking at later in the 2029-ish area. It just kind of depends on what happens throughout construction, but not a lot of seasons left to experience Lawson for what it is. And it's another reason why I just want people, even the greater community of Kalamazoo, to come support the Broncos while they're there. Send Lawson out with just the best crowds we've ever had, and experience a team that's year after year has found a way to make new history in that building and for the university and for the community that we're all a part of. And as an away fan, like, come and visit it, dude. It's a fun little spot. It's a small arena. It's loud. It's ruckus. Everyone is enjoying themselves in the game. We really don't have any issues with nonsensical stuff. Like, there's not fights in the stands. There's not anything above and beyond. There might be some moderate chirping. Most of it comes from the student sections who are across the ice from the parents. There's the ugly parents or warm up the bus type stuff or things like that. But it generally stays within moderation, and everyone just has a fun time. And really just come and experience it. It's a great spot to watch a game.
Depending on how the schedule shakes out for next year, I think I'll have to make that my ASU away trip next year.
Yeah, and if you're in town, let me know. I know some spots to hit up for some good food in the area and some fun times. Just make sure you have your ID.
Absolutely.
Les will check it, even if you're just hanging out having lunch. You won't check your ID.
That's not true because I'm not there during lunch hours unless it's a Saturday during a home football game, and then yes, I will. But no, it was my favorite place on campus as a student. It's still one of my favorite places in Kalamazoo, and it's one of my favorite arenas that I've ever been to. I put it at the top of any experience sports wise, right now that I've experienced. So I'm sure there's some that would have beaten it, but for what I've experienced, it's top notch. So, we've wasted about an hour and 15 minutes of your time, so I think that's enough for us. You've still got potentially, you might even still have some daylight out there.
No, not quite, but it's it's getting there.
Yeah, still some time to enjoy in your evening, so we will let you go. We will wrap this episode up. There's the normal YouTube stuff. There's a like, a share, a subscribe if you're into those type of things. There's a comment section if you feel that we haven't worn out the washy discussion and you want to let us know your opinion. I won't block you, but I might ignore you, so you can try that. There's an email if you want to send an email. That's been scrolling at the bottom of the screen. There's some Twitter handles that if you know them, they're around. They might even be in the description still. I don't know what I put in there anymore. But until then, there's only one thing left to say, and that's Pucks on Net. Good things happen like goal horns and fight songs. Until the next episode, we're gone.